So to move on to motivation and keeping everyone engaged, what do you do to keep everybody fired up and engaged all the time, and how do you manage that performance? Go, Rebecca? Yeah. Go ahead, Rebecca. Yeah. Or Natalie, then go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a lot of things. We have a committee. We call it a crew. We call it the Connect crew. So it's called the NFLIC Connect crew. And I'd like to kind of call us like the fun committee, and just making sure that, you know, we don't always take things too seriously, and you can get bogged down in sort of like all the work that you have to do and all the deadlines that you have. But it's reminding people to have fun. So we do catered lunches and catered dinners for our employees every single day. And that's great for people to come in and have, you know, lunch arrive, and they go and they take it and they sit at their desk. But oftentimes, you know, people miss that engagement piece, and lunch just becomes another task instead of an opportunity for engagement and team building. So every Wednesday we have an NFLIC Connect event where everybody gets together and we eat lunch together. We get a Wii going, we get board games going, we watch Office, we watch movies, and we just take the time to get to know one another, ask each other how our weekends were, how the week's going, laugh about all the deadlines that we have and how stressed out we are sometimes. But that's what builds that culture and that team building environment. In addition, we do, as part of the Connect crew, we do monthly events. So we'll go out to a pub or we'll go to a movie. So we do those sorts of things as well. You know, we get everybody really fired up about new products and new product releases and things that are going on, and really making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. You know, not only at company meetings, just, you know, making sure that emails are going out when things are happening, and really celebrating the wins. And I think oftentimes, you know, there's little milestones along the way, and then there's bigger milestones, and sometimes people forget to celebrate all the little milestones that happen that build up to the large milestones. So, you know, in Tribe we have kudos, which are really great for recognizing people, and something that, you know, as trivial as it might have been, that really makes an impact. That helps us recognize each other, and there's a whole feed. And then when you look at that person's profile, or the manager's looking at that person's profile, you can be like, wow, look at all the things that made a difference in other people's lives. So things like that are really important. And so whether you use a kudos system, whether you just drop a thank you card on someone's desk, you know, those are things that matter. When it's their birthday, I have this corny, you know, Beatles happy birthday song that I go in and I play off my laptop, and everybody knows as soon as Rebecca's there with her laptop, it's someone's birthday. And we just make a big deal out of it, and not so disruptive, but it's making sure, again, that we celebrate the little things. And like Natalie said, it's the details, and people remember them. Absolutely.
Natalie, do you have anything to add around having?
Yeah, we definitely do social events as well, which is great. And thank yous definitely go a long way, and they don't cost that much, and they show your appreciation. But two other areas that we focus on as well is communication, making sure that there's always open communication. Employees can always ask the questions to figure out what's going on, so that they can feel engaged, they can feel connected. So everyone can go talk to the CEO. It's always open door policy. They can always come talk to HR if they wanted to, just to figure out if they don't understand something. And we always want to make sure that we're showing value add. Like, why are they there? What do they do? What do they contribute? So we developed a process to show goals and targets and how they contribute to the big picture, and how their career really does impact the overall product. So I think that gets engagement from each one of the employees because they have value in what they do every day.
Great. Allie?
I remember when I like to tell stories and answering questions. Did you notice that pattern? I remember when I worked at Microsoft the first time, I was recruited personally by this person like 2 levels below Bill Gates at the time. He was this like famous person. He flew down to Waterloo to recruit me, and it was the most felt so honored. I think I was not like 20 years old at the time, and I wanted to work at this company. I turned down every other company at that time because I was going to get to work with this famous person who was personally coming to meet me. And so I joined Microsoft at that time as a co-op student, and I never saw them again. And I remembered that. I remembered that a big reason why people join a startup is because they're interested in this passionate leader who wants to change things, and that discussion is sometimes more interesting than anything else that you can offer. And so a big part of all the things that we do to motivate people, we do a lot of silly things. We have meals. We can't afford a meal every day, but we're close. We have a go-kart track on at our office, and we do funny things about that. We camp out and have like interesting events and musical things at our office too. But I find in an innovation culture the thing that drives people, the thing that lights people's, like puts them on, like lights their faces up and makes them excited to come to work, is when we sit together and brainstorm and then we say, hey, that's awesome. That idea is more interesting than any of the other boring things we're doing. Let's shift. Why don't you take control? Let's do some mock-ups. And then they'll start doing work at nighttime, emailing you with images saying, here's the first iteration of that idea we talked about. The excitement of talking with the CEO and the senior management about changing the world, and then getting to demo like an initial mock-up of that, and talking about the idea of robots and 3D and how it could change e-commerce. That's what motivates people. That's what motivates the best people. That's what's going to make your innovators excited. And so I've learned a big part of my job is to not just disappear after we recruit someone, is to be part of those conversations and to embrace them and give people the excitement of being able to demo things to me and then getting feedback. I think that's an important part about keeping people motivated.
Right. So on that topic, when you look at performance management, do you do a formal performance review, or does that become just part of interacting with people on a daily basis?
So we haven't launched a performance management process, and right now we're still trying to define what that is. What does that mean for NFLIC? Do we want a form with checkboxes? Do we want an online tool? Do we want nothing at all? Would we rather just have ongoing conversations where we have one-on-ones, and so you don't wait to 2 points in the year where you say, how am I doing? It's been 6 months, and then you wait another 6 months to find out how you've done overall for the year and how that's going to translate into some sort of increase or bonus. Right now, and we're finding it really effective, so we're dancing around whether we should really change things or not, is the one-on-ones that we have, and our managers are really diligent for doing it, and they do them weekly, sometimes they do them bi-weekly, whatever works for them, and maybe it's based on the individual and what works for them. Some people need a little bit more hand-holding than others, and depending what projects they're on, maybe they need to meet more frequently or less frequently. I guess in terms of performance management, we're still trying to define that, but I think it needs to suit your organization, keeping in mind that, as you grow, that system is probably going to have to scale. So what does that look like? And keeping them in, keeping the managers sort of aware of, we can do this now, but, when we have, 200 people, what does this look like? Is this a nightmare? And what do you want out of this process? So at the end of the day, what people want is employees want feedback. They want to know what they're doing great. They want to know where they can improve. And at the end of the day, the manager wants the employee to know how they're doing and things that they need to improve and how they're making an impact. So, whether you use a form, whether you use an online tool, whether you just have conversations, at the end of the day, it's just making sure that the message gets across.
Excellent. Natalie, do you have anything to add around?
Yeah, we do have a performance management process at MyoVision. We call it the Myo 360, and it was brand new this year. We've experienced tremendous growth over the past year. So we just want to make sure that we're always having that continued communication going back and forth between the management and their staff. I think our employees do look for it. They're hungry for that feedback. So this is just helping to facilitate that process and making sure that everyone's getting the same not the same feedback, but at least some feedback from their managers. Because what we were finding is some management was really good at having one-on-ones or sitting down and having a brief conversation. However, some managers weren't. So employees, we were just trying to make it fair across the board. Plus, we were also trying to document career pathing, career growth, and areas of improvement. Everyone's got areas of improvement, so we needed to grab that, and we're in the process right now of working on that and building out a brand new training and development program. There's a bunch of analytics that can come from a performance management system, so it can be really great for your organization. You can understand where you're weak as far as skill sets, where you need to develop people, who's next in line for succession planning. So there can be some really great things from having a performance management process. It's just up to you to define how you build it out and how formal you want to make it.
And Ali, what's working for you?
Yeah, I mean, with respect to performance management and performance management programs, you're never going to have a company that has mediocre employees and you implement this performance management software and all of a sudden, or processes, and all of a sudden your employees are terrific, right? It's not going to happen. A lot of the times you'll see a lot of companies implement performance management processes because they have problems and they want ways to be able to let people go and have a documentation trail. It's very much managing for the negative, not managing for the positive. And so that's not a space where I spend personally a lot of my time, but obviously it's something that we're concerned about just to build a healthy organization. But it's important for me to realize, and it's been important for me to realize that the thing that's going to make a great company, great culture, make you change your space and the industry you're in isn't because you implemented some great performance management process or software. It's something usually you just have to get done when it becomes necessary. One of the biggest lessons I've learned with respect to management, someone told me very early at well.ca was this notion of, I think we often think that there's a golden way to manage. Like a lot of companies like IBM used to talk about this, like golden path of management. And if we do this right, it's going to solve the problems of this company and make everybody great. And the thing I realized about management is that every staff, every person that you hire needs to be managed in a different way. Some people need mentorship. Other people need you to just remove obstacles because they're go-getters and they figure it out themselves and they don't need someone looking over their shoulder. Some people need a lot of feedback because they're worried about where am I standing and am I going to get fired because I feel like I'm going to get fired every day, and they're doing great and they feel that way all the time and that's their national persona, and other people never think about that. And I think it's important in order to develop great management is to develop great managers within your organization that understand that there's a diversity and there's multiplicity in the way that you manage people. And some people need a lot of structure. We do meet with everybody. I think the most important thing that we do with respect to this is that we meet with everybody every quarter, sit with them and say, what are the things that you love about your job and what are the things that could improve? And we split it up in terms of cultural things and like actual getting stuff done and different segments of what we value in an employee. And a lot of that conversation is usually focused around growth. When someone's doing well, you're not spending all your time saying you need to stop chewing at the end of your pencil because it's annoying your coworkers. That's not a conversation. I mean, you might have to have that conversation, but that's not what I'm thinking about all the time. It's more about, hey, you're really good at these things. If you had more knowledge in the business space, you'd be even better at your job. Here's some books that I think you should read. Let's come back next quarter and tell me what you thought about those books. So it's a lot about growth and like, what are courses you could take? Can the company pay for half of those courses because we think that you'd be an even more well-rounded employee? And so I guess my answer to that question is that yes, we have a formal process where we meet with people every quarter. That's not personally my biggest concern. My bigger concern is what do individuals need and how do we make sure that we cater to each one of those people, because everyone is different.